Instead of passing that final citizenship hurdle on a journey that takes years, multiple interviews, background checks, some people were pulled out of line based on their country of origin, according to exclusive, terrific reporting from GBH News. At naturalization events across the country, in accordance with a new Trump executive order, all immigration options for people from 19 specific countries are being halted. GBH reporter Sarah Betancourt broke the story. She joins us now on Zoom alongside Gail Breslow, Executive Director of Project Citizenship, which works with immigrants seeking naturalization to become American citizens. Sarah, Gail, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on.
You know, before we get into the details of this unbelievably horrible and cruel story at Faneuil Hall, Gail, a lot of people may not be familiar with your organization. Tell us specifically, what do you do?
Citizenship has a singular mission. It's a nonprofit organization that provides free legal services to lawful permanent residents, so green card holders, who are interested in pursuing their eligibility for citizenship. So we serve throughout the process from beginning to end. As you mentioned, it's a long and arduous process. We serve as the attorney of record for all of our clients and advise them along the way in terms of their eligibility and how to proceed and what documents they need to gather, and preparing them for that very special day when they take the oath of allegiance to the United States of America, which our clients and others were slated to do last week.
So before we get to Sarah and the details of that story, one last thing with you, Gail. Following the shooting of the two National Guards people from West Virginia, one of whom died and one of whom is recovering, from what I understand, Trump changed the rules of asylum, the rules of applying for citizenship from 19 countries. Can you give us a brief summary of what's different from what was prior to those shootings?
Yeah, well, after the tragedy, the horrific shootings, indeed, the Trump administration used that opportunity to essentially pause all immigration services, naturalization, including naturalization for individuals from 19 so-called travel ban countries. That includes not only Afghanistan, but Venezuela, Haiti, Somalia, Eritrea. I mean, it's a list of 19 random countries that they've singled out.
And no asylum hearings at all, right? Is that correct? Regardless.
That's correct.
Okay.
Everything is paused.
Okay.
Yeah. Up to and including, so we had, many clients who received notification that either their interview with USCIS, which is, the final stage of vetting, or literally their oath ceremony was canceled. And as you suggested, when someone is there for their naturalization ceremony, they've already been approved for citizenship. I mean, this is one step away from denaturalizing people who have already become citizens. I mean, when you go for your oath ceremony, your naturalization certificate is already printed out for you, and you're there literally to raise your hand and swear allegiance to this country, and then experience the joy and celebration and pride of everyone who's in that room. You have already been fully vetted. You've been background checked, you've been fingerprinted, you've had your knowledge of US civics tested, you've had your knowledge of the English language tested. And so it is, just the final step in what has been a very long process.
Sarah, I've got a lot of questions about the way that these apprehensions were effectuated, but start first by telling people exactly what happened here.
I appreciate the question. So I sort of want to preface this with, in fiscal year 2024, almost 24,000 people in Massachusetts were naturalized, right? And in this situation, we have the federal government, because of the situation in Washington, saying, look, we're going to place a travel ban and these countries on the travel ban list in this category of people we're not going to consider applications for them. So we had a group of people, according to Gail and others, who were at Faneuil Hall for that final step of being naturalized, that were in line and were asked, what is your country of origin? And based off of the administration's decisions on that, decided you're not able to proceed further.
And this is inside Faneuil Hall.
My understanding is yes. Gail can speak to that further. We have spoken to a couple of people who did not wish to be named for this story. But I do have it on good authority that MIRA, for instance, MIRA Coalition that works with so many immigrant advocacy organizations, had 4 clients that were pulled out of that line on Thursday. And additionally, other people are receiving notification that, hey, your oath ceremony is canceled. We're not going to give you further guidance on this.
And just to be clear, the people who work for immigration and naturalization who perform this ceremony, they are employees, essentially, because it's an agency of Homeland Security. So these weren't ICE agents asking the question. These were the officials who effectuate the ceremony, right?
We've heard from multiple sources that it was USCIS officials. And for naturalization ceremonies, it is typically a judge or a USCIS official. Judges often sort of politely, happily fight each other because it's such a joyous occasion to have naturalization happen. People bring their family members, they FaceTime people from abroad. Everything's pretty set up. And this definitely put a stop to that very suddenly for a lot of people.
Yeah, what happens to these people now? Those who were pulled out of line just the cruelest, most unnecessary of fashion. What happens to those people?
Yeah, it's a great question. We don't have any further information forthcoming from USCIS about what is happening next. USCIS, has announced that they're opening a vetting center in Atlanta to do enhanced security checks. Again, these people have already been through all of that. And our clients have just been notified that, their ceremony was canceled and they should stay tuned for further notice. But there's been no forthcoming information about what the administration plans to do next.
Gail, here's what I'm sorry, Sarah, go ahead. And then I have a question for Gail.
I was going to say there's already a level of confusion on social media as well. I mean, there's a lot of Facebook groups around naturalization of people who are so close to that step and they want other supporters, people from the same community who are going through the same thing to bounce ideas off of. And a lot of them are posting, well, I had my oath ceremony canceled. Do you know why? Has anyone else had this situation happen? And I don't know what to do next.
Here's what baffles me. This is pursuant to a travel ban from these countries, which I suggest are scattered but are not random. They are all either African countries, Caribbean countries, countries that have large Islamic populations. No one is getting a travel ban out of Norway or Sweden or whites from South Africa. So let's be really clear about, who these travel bans are affecting. But what I don't understand are these are people who are have actively worked and are seeking to become American citizens. They are not in the process of travel. There's no evidence that they've traveled outside the country or done anything in any way to pose a threat. So how is it under this provision that they can deny them their naturalization?
Yeah, it's a great question, Andrea. I mean, this is, not only xenophobic, but racist in every way. Our client who was turned away at the door, she was inside the door, outside the door when she was turned away at Faneuil Hall. She's from Haiti. She has been in this country for over 20 years with a lawful, with a green card, a lawful permanent resident for over 20 years. She's in her mid-50s. I mean, she's lived half her life in the United States, and she has made this country her home. And, one can only fathom what motivation the Trump administration has to target her and people like her. And I'll just add that, in this day and age, citizenship is really the best defense against the risk of deportation for anyone who isn't a U.S. citizen. And our doors have been, we've been flooded this year with potential clients who are eager to achieve that extra security and safety that comes from citizenship, that in the absence of which, you can get picked up off the street. So the seriousness of this is it can't be understated, and the awfulness of this situation occurring literally, at Faneuil Hall. The irony of that it can't be overstated.
We should make clear for people who've only been paying half attention to this story since the shootings of the two West Virginia National Guards people is, well, as always, that we haven't talked about asylum at all today because it's obviously a different process. As always, Trump's response to this is to blame Joe Biden. Asylum was granted to this shooter during the Trump administration in April. Not by Joe Biden. Sarah Betancourt, we have no idea at all, nor do these people, when these pauses, and let's hope they're just pauses, whether it's on asylum hearings or on naturalization, the naturalization process. We have no idea when this halt's going to come to an end, do we?
No, we don't. USCIS has directed its employees to halt adjudicating all immigration pathways for people from those 19 countries deemed to be high risk. We also have a massive backlog in the immigration courts already. So people who had pending dates for immigration cases are going to deal with waiting even longer and having that ambiguity. In the case of these 19 countries, especially Afghans that were potentially coming here on SIV visas, or other methods.
Special immigration visas given to people who risk their own lives to help our
us.
Soldiers in Afghanistan. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sarah.
All the political capital that was gained in the past 10 months by people advocating for them, it's completely gone.
Yeah.
Maya, I have an idea about some of the other motivations beyond the racist sort of xenophobic thing. And I said this earlier in my segment in Thursday on the show. It's to prevent people from voting. You can't, if you don't have your citizenship today, then you can't vote in the 2026 election. And it's to have a chilling effect on people who have the right to vote, going there, not going to the polling places because they're afraid that they could be pulled out of line on any for
Even
any
if you're
pretext.
a citizen.
Even if you're a citizen. So it's got a dual purpose in my view.